person. Thought everybody was flying around. They were playing fast. You know, we had fewer mistakes than I expected. As far as mentally, guys were on it. I think the last 2 weeks of having our meetings, they stayed in it and just didn't blow that off and took it serious and came out here and felt like the guys were on it.
Yeah. Was there any player?
Not really. There was quite a few good things that were happening. The best part about when you go through a camp like this is trying to just make sure guys stay on their feet. And I thought our guys did a good job of kind of our first time of practicing together and understanding they're still our teammates to make sure we protect each other and play fast, but at the same time protect each other.
And you had Mike Pouncey back out here today, and I guess Kola was here as well. So seeing a couple of faces that came back either from 1 day absence or 2 day absence, how did what did that mean?
No, anytime guys are out there, that's what we're looking for is being the voluntary minicamp. Anytime they show up, that's great.
Yeah.
And it's a voluntary camp, is that?
It is. Yes. And Jelani and Jamar.
I know Jamar's here, and I know where Jelani's at. So we both.
Coach, what's is it anxiety? Is it what before the draft? What's going through your right now? Excitement?
I don't know. We got like 10 more hours of kids, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to transition here probably in the next couple hours, and we've been meeting on this since February, so we'll be ready to go.
What did you learn about your team these 3 days?
I think the number one thing I learned about is I feel like there's a lot of guys that want to win, and just watching them practice. They're not talking about it, just watching them go through what they need to go through individual team periods and seeing how fast they play. The fact that they've picked up what we've asked them to learn, in the playbook, and actions speak louder than words. And right now, I like where our guys are at. We got 3 weeks of phase 2, and then we'll get into OTAs, and that's phase 2 being our next step, and we'll see how much better we can get going through the next 3 weeks.
What are you looking for in the offensive line when you can't really evaluate them this time of year with contact?
Yeah, it's tough, but the hardest thing to do in the NFL is be a great pass protector, and that's why we're leaning a lot of, doing a lot of passing game things right now. But it's a tough position for them because with no pads, our D line is coming off the ball, and it's a great experience for them because it's almost unrealistic. And for these guys right now, it's kind of their footwork, hand placement, just making sure they're in the right position. That's our biggest evaluation going on right now.
Adam, 2 or 3 guys that surprised you this week?
I don't know if anybody surprised me necessarily. I think just seeing guys practice live, it just gives you a better feel of who our guys really are.
And one quick follow-up: is there a position where you're like, "Wow, we feel really good about this" after watching this week?
I guess I feel good about all our positions. I just we're always looking to add depth, and you want competition. That's the thing. You just don't want to be thin. So when you go into camp, you're sitting there. You want to be able to make hard cuts. You want to make sure you go, wow, I can't believe we're going to let this guy go because he's a good football player, and then somebody else comes and picks him up. You just want to create depth at every position.
Adam, last season, this team was kind of caught after Mike Pouncey got injured. There wasn't like a true backup center. Is it a priority of yours to kind of find a backup center, whether it's a center guard or a center starting in April, or you worry about that in training camp?
That's why we have so many guys that are kind of always, if you ever watch our quarterback center exchange, there's 4 guys going, and you're always looking for who's our next best guy. And then you're looking for the third best guy. When a center goes down, it could be devastating to your team if you don't have a backup plan. So Chris has done a great job of just kind of figuring out who our guys are that we can target, and then we just have to keep giving them reps, throwing some awkward situations where all of a sudden maybe we get in camp and we pull Pouncey out of there and throw the next guy in there and say, hey, you got to go. There's no time to react.
Adam, in talking to the offensive players yesterday, we got different little bits of anecdotes on what your offense is like, and how would you describe this offense and the layperson?
I think it's such a combination of so many different influences, and for myself having Clyde here and just getting back to some of the things that he did in Indy, early on with Peyton and Tom Moore, and then some of the things that he's learned in the West Coast, and my influences coming from Marks and doing what we did in Denver and kind of developing a different deal in Chicago. So it's just so many things combined. It's hard to put like your thumb on what exactly it is. I just know that we always look to kind of be able to adapt from week to week and do what's best for that game that marries up with our defense and special teams.
Can you define your ideal player? What is the makeup of an Adam Gase player?
I mean, the guys that we're looking for are those guys that they're looking to win. They're tough. They're competitive. They're selfless. They really, have a love for this game. You want to find those guys that there's nothing else for them but this, and they just live and die by what happens with football. And when you're around guys like that, and the more guys you can get like that on your team, the better chance you're going to have.
How do you identify that, though?
It's tough. You can do all the research you can. You talk to as many people, like especially coming into the draft, you talk to every person you can. If you got a guy targeted in that school, talk to equipment guys, trainers, strength and conditioning, coaches, other players. I grab some guy on campus. You try to find as many ways as you possibly can to figure out what kind of person that guy is. And it's hard to do because you got to collect the information, sort through it. It's a very hard thing to identify, when you don't know that person. When you get around somebody, you can figure it out really fast when you actually get like in the heat of the moment.
What scares you the most about this draft?
I don't know if anything scares me about the draft. I don't have a good answer for that. That's the best answer I can give right there.
But this is the first one where you're actually. It's your first.
It's football, man. This ain't rocket science. It's football.
Adam, for this particular team, your first, second, and third round picks, do they have to be starters, immediate contributors?
And anytime when you hit on those picks, that's nice. We'll see how this thing plays out. I can't predict how this is going to shake out.
But can you guys afford a depth pick? Like in third round, can you pick, say, a offensive tackle?
I don't know. I'll let you know when we get there.
Because you were busy compiling a staff and all that, were you a little bit less involved than you will be in future seasons in terms of actually breaking down players?
I was pretty involved.
Okay.
The staff was hired in January, and we started draft meetings in February, so I've heard about the same guys for seems like forever now, so we got a pretty good grip of it.
Okay, so same it'll be any season.
You guys have said often that you're not just one player away, you need to add depth across the board. If you go move up, would you be all right with that, giving up maybe assets later in the draft if you need that depth fill?
I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when the time the draft starts. We'll figure it out.
You guys good? Thank you.
Good.
Thanks.